A mother's truth, the moment Alexis Davis finally stands her ground. The tension in Drew Kane's office hangs thick as Alexis Davis walks through the door, her shoulders squared with a determination that has been missing for months. Scout sits nearby, coloring quietly, unaware that this conversation will change everything. For too long, Alexis has bent to Drew's every demand, testifying against her own family, abandoning her principles, all for the chance to see her granddaughter's face. But today, that ends. Today, Alexis carries a secret that has been burning inside her, one that will finally give her the leverage to reclaim her dignity and Scout's future. The weight of compromise. Over the past several months, Alexis Davis has made a series of compromises that would have shocked her family. The fierce Casadini-trained attorney, known for her ruthlessness in the courtroom, has been systematically dismantling her own integrity, brick by brick, all in the name of maintaining access to Scout. When Drew Kane gained custody following Willow's arrest, he wielded it like a weapon, a tool to force Alexis into representing Willow in a trial that seemed impossible to win. "You want to see Scout?" Drew had asked, his voice dripping with calculated sweetness. "Then you'll be my daughter's attorney, and you'll do everything in your power to get Willow acquitted." Alexis had no choice, or so she believed. She signed on as Willow's counsel, watching helplessly as the case spiraled, making strategic error after strategic error. When she called Portia Robinson to the stand, hoping to establish reasonable doubt, she had failed to properly vet the testimony. Instead of discovering inconsistencies, she blindsided Portia and destroyed her credibility in front of her own family. The courtroom had erupted, and Alexis realized too late that her desperation to see Scout had clouded her judgment. But it wasn't just the courtroom where Alexis compromised herself. She allowed Drew to control when Scout could visit, what they could discuss, even what Scout could wear. She sat silently while he poisoned Scout's mind against her father, Jason Morgan, turning the innocent child into a pawn in Drew's vendetta. And when Scout came to visit during the holidays, and Danny Morgan showed up unexpectedly, Alexis made the worst decision of all. She asked her granddaughter to keep it secret. "Don't tell your father Danny was here," Alexis had whispered, her voice gentle but firm. "It will only upset him, and he might blame you. We don't want that." Scout, with the wisdom children sometimes possess, had simply nodded. But Alexis knew the moment the words left her mouth that she had crossed a line she couldn't uncross. She had asked a child to lie to her father. She had compromised her values so thoroughly that she could barely recognize herself anymore. The tipping point. Then came the letter. Someone Alexis still didn't know who had seen Michael Corinthos at Drew's house on the night of the shooting. Someone had witnessed Tracy Quartermain admit that she planned to commit perjury to protect Michael, her Quartermain blood superseding her commitment to truth. And that someone had slipped Alexis a note with this information, turning her world upside down. Suddenly, Alexis had options. She had ammunition. She had a way to fight back against Drew without sacrificing her soul entirely. But as she held that letter in her trembling hands, she realized something even more profound. She didn't want to build her case on lies and destroyed lives anymore. She didn't want to be the kind of woman who sacrificed her principles for access to her grandchildren. She didn't want Scout to grow up thinking that was how women survived. Alexis had made a decision in that moment. It was time to play hardball, but on her own terms. It was time to use the one secret that could actually change everything, the secret she had carried with her through all of this manipulation and compromise. The meeting. Now, standing in Drew's office, with Scout coloring peacefully nearby, Alexis takes a breath. She has rehearsed this conversation 1,000 times in her mind, playing out every possible reaction, every argument Drew might make. But nothing can truly prepare her for the moment when the truth finally comes out. "We need to talk," Alexis says, her voice steady, "about Scout, about her future, about who she really is." Drew's jaw tightens. He's heard this tone before, the tone that means Alexis is done playing games. "What are you talking about?" Alexis glances at Scout, who has looked up from her coloring, sensing the shift in the room's energy. "Scout, honey, Why don't you go wait in the other room for a few minutes? I need to speak with your dad about something. Scout hesitates, her young face creased with concern, but she obeys, gathering her colored pencils and leaving the office. The door closes behind her with a soft click that sounds almost like a countdown timer. I've been thinking about something for a very long time, Alexis begins, pulling out a folder she's kept hidden. About Scout's future, about what's best for her, not what's best for you. And I realize that I've been going about this all wrong. Alexis, Drew starts, but she holds up her hand. Let me finish. Her voice carries the weight of months of pent-up frustration. You've been using Scout like a bargaining chip. You've used her to control me, to keep me in line, to ensure I do exactly what you want. And I let you. I compromised myself in ways I never thought I would. I asked her to keep secrets. I neglected my own values. All because you convinced me I had no other choice. Drew leans back in his chair, his expression unreadable. You agreed to represent Willow. You knew the terms. The terms were blackmail. Drew, Alexis interrupts. And I was naive enough to accept them. But I'm done. I'm done with this arrangement. Because I've realized something that changes everything. She opens the folder and slides a document across his desk. It's a DNA test result, official and undeniable. Scout isn't your daughter, Drew. She's Sonny's. The silence that follows is deafening. Drew stares at the document, his face draining of color. For a moment, he doesn't move, doesn't speak, simply processes the words that have just shattered his world. That's impossible, he whispers. It's entirely possible, Alexis says quietly, and I have the documentation to prove it. A medical examination conducted discreetly, results verified by a third party. Scout is Sonny Corinthus's biological daughter, not yours. Drew's hands clench into fists. You're lying. I'm not. Alexis's voice remains calm, almost gentle. And you know in your heart that I'm telling the truth. You can do your own test if you want. But we both know what it will show. The reckoning. Why? Drew demands, his voice raw. Why are you telling me this now? Because you've been using Scout as leverage, and that stops today, Alexis says. Because I refuse to be manipulated anymore. Because Scout deserves better than being a pawn in your vendetta against Jason Morgan and Sonny Corinthos. If this is true, Drew begins. It is true, Alexis interrupts. And it means you have no legal standing to restrict my access to her. Scout is Sonny's daughter. He will fight for custody. And unlike you, Drew, he won't use her as a weapon. He won't ask her to keep secrets or choose sides. He'll love her for who she is, not for what he can gain from her. Drew's face contorts with anger and something else, something that might be shame, or regret, or the dawning realization that he has fundamentally miscalculated. You think Sonny will want her? After all this? Yes, Alexis says simply. I do. Because unlike you, Sonny actually loves his children, even when it complicates his life, even when it challenges him. He won't treat Scout like property. He won't use her to hurt people he dislikes. And what about you? Drew asks quietly. What about your precious access to Scout? You think Sonny will just let you parade her around your family? I think Sonny will do what's best for Scout, Alexis replies. And what's best for Scout is having people in her life who love her unconditionally, not people who use her as a bargaining chip. I made mistakes in how I've handled this situation. Drew, I compromised myself in ways I'm not proud of. But I'm done. Scout deserves better. I deserve better. She stands, preparing to leave. Wait, Drew says, and there's something almost broken in his voice. You can't just. Scout has known me as her father her whole life. Telling her this will devastate her. Alexis pauses at the door. You should have thought about that before you decided to weaponize her against everyone who loves her. Scout will be fine. Drew, children are resilient. And unlike you, I'll make sure she knows that none of this is her fault. That she's loved, truly loved by the people around her. Alexis, but she's already gone, closing the door behind her with the same quiet finality as Scout had moments before. A new beginning. In the weeks that follow, Port Charles is shaken by the revelation. Drew's control over Scout crumbles. Sonny, despite his shock, steps up as the man he should have been all along, not as a conquering father figure claiming his prize, but as a man determined to give his daughter the stable, loving home she deserves. Alexis, freed from Drew's manipulation, regains her footing. She approaches Willow's trial with renewed focus, using the information she has about Michael and Tracy, but only in ways that serve justice, not in ways that destroy innocent lives. The trial's outcome will remain uncertain until the verdict comes down. But one thing is clear. Alexis Davis has finally reclaimed her power. She has looked at the woman she was becoming, a woman willing to sacrifice everything for crumbs of access. A woman who taught her granddaughter that it was acceptable to lie and keep secrets, and she has rejected that version of herself. Scout learns the truth slowly, carefully, surrounded by people who love her and support her. She learns that family is complicated, that adults sometimes make mistakes, and that love can come in many different forms. And perhaps most importantly, she learns that the women in her life, her grandmother Alexis, her mother's friends, are strong enough to stand up for what's right, even when it costs them something precious. The balance of power in Port Charles has shifted. Drew Kane, once so confident in his control, now finds himself isolated, rejected even by those closest to him. And Alexis Davis, once compromised and desperate, has reclaimed her throne as one of the most formidable forces in the city. It took a revelation, a moment of truth, and the courage to finally say no more. Next, we'll explore one of the most touching character arcs in recent soap opera history. The journey of Giovanni Mazza's character Joe represents far more than typical daytime drama. It's how personal authenticity intersects with compelling storytelling. The moment everything changed. Understanding Gio's breaking point. The act of Joe shattering his cherished violin wasn't an impulsive emotional outburst, but something profoundly significant. When the truth emerged that Dante and Brooklyn were his biological parents, Joe experienced an existential crisis. This revelation didn't simply alter his family dynamic. It fundamentally uprooted the very foundation upon which he had constructed his sense of self. The violin, an instrument he had invested countless hours mastering and growing to love, transformed overnight into a painful reminder of everything he had lost. Looking at the instrument became unbearable because every string, every note was inexorably linked to the person he thought he was. In that single moment of destruction, viewers witnessed a young person attempting to destroy the symbol of a false identity, hoping to make sense of devastating emotional loss. The turning point, when silence transforms into hope. As weeks passed and Joe sat in emotional silence, unable to touch a musical instrument without confronting his shattered past, something unexpected occurred. Ned and Sonny recognized that Joe needed more than sympathy. He needed a pathway back to himself and his identity. By presenting him with a brand new violin, they offered something far deeper than a material possession. They presented a symbolic opportunity for rebirth, signifying that broken things could be mended and new beginnings could emerge from devastating loss. The introduction of this new instrument marked a pivotal transformation in Gio's narrative arc. It signified that while his past couldn't be erased, his future wasn't entirely determined by it. The new violin became a bridge between the devastated boy he had been and the young man he was becoming. This gift represented acceptance, love, and confidence from the people around him that he possessed the strength to rebuild his musical abilities, identity, and sense of belonging. Behind the scenes, what the moment meant in real time. The General Hospital creative team understood immediately that this development transcended ordinary episodic storytelling. What unfolded on social media proved the network recognized the profound emotional weight this storyline carried. The official General Hospital Instagram account published an exclusive video interview with actor Giovanni Mazza, who brought authentic musical background to the role. The caption stated, "At Giovanni Violin's love of the violin is the perfect example of art imitating life," and he was more than happy to chat about it after filming today's emotional episode. This wasn't standard promotional content. It was an acknowledgement that the line between the actor's real life and his character's fictional journey had become beautifully blurred. In the exclusive interview, Mazza articulated the profound personal significance the character arc held with genuine vulnerability. When I first auditioned for the show, they knew that I played the violin, and the role allowed for me to play violin, Mazza explained. It's a very personal piece close to my heart, so when I do these story beats with the violin, it's really important to me, he continued, emphasizing that this wasn't merely acting, but channeling something deeply authentic into his portrayal. The symbolism that resonated, breaking more than an instrument. Mazza didn't shy away from examining the deeper psychological implications of his character's actions. When discussing the scene where Joe destroys the violin in anguish, he revealed the multi-layered meaning. What breaking the violin signified was powerful and heartbreaking. I mean, it was a broken heart. Really, the violin that I broke was a metaphor for a broken family, broken life, and broken identity. I didn't know who I was anymore, Mazza articulated with striking clarity. This elevated the scene far beyond character destruction into genuine art and philosophical exploration. The violin became a vessel containing multiple meanings: the loss of a beloved object, disintegration of family bonds, shattering of personal narrative, and dissolution of his place in the world. For Joe, breaking the violin was psychological release and attempt to externalize internal devastation through physical destruction. Fans following this storyline understood immediately, with one viewer responding, "I'm crying." Another posted, "That was so beautiful. Joe is amazing." The craft behind the performance, musical precision, and emotional truth. Beyond psychological dimensions, Mazza addressed the technical and artistic aspects of bringing musical elements to his character's story. He praised the show's music director with genuine appreciation. "Paul Glass is our music director, and he's one of the coolest people ever. His expertise and passion really shine through," Mazza said. "It's very precise, and the finger dexterity required is so different from what most realize," he noted, referring to actual demands of playing violin versus pretending while recordings play. This attention to technical detail didn't go unnoticed by dedicated fans. One follower responded, "He's truly gifted with the violin." Another added, "You can feel the work and dedication in it." Responses indicated that General Hospital's audience discerned the difference between authentic performance and theatrical pretense. The show invested in real musicianship, and that investment paid substantial dividends in viewer engagement and emotional investment in the storyline. Finding family through loss, the resolution that matters most. The interview concluded with Mazza discussing the most crucial element of Gio's transformative journey, discovering genuine family connection and authentic belonging. After months of confusion and devastation following the revelation of his true parentage, Joe articulated his understanding of what family meant. "I think now I know who my family is. My family is Brooklyn. My family is Sonny, Ned, Michael, and everyone else who stood by me. It's really special," Mazza said, conveying genuine emotional significance. This wasn't simply a list of names. It was a profound statement about chosen family and understanding that biological connection doesn't necessarily define familial bonds. Gio's transformative journey led him to recognize that family encompassed both biological relationships and people who loved him through devastating circumstances. Responses flooded social media with emotional honesty. "2 days in a row I cried watching this," admitted one viewer. Another posted, "Joe and Emma are the best young actors on GH right now," recognizing the talented performance and exceptional quality of the writing. The video concluded with veteran actress Tracy observing quietly, "That was beautiful." She wasn't offering professional commentary. She was recognizing that something genuinely moving had transpired. Her simple acknowledgement served as a seal of approval from someone who witnessed countless performances across decades. Sometimes the most powerful validation comes from quiet recognition that something true and authentic occurred. In that moment, distinction between performance and reality dissolved, leaving simply a human being articulating a deeply personal journey through loss, confusion, and rediscovery of belonging and purpose through music and family love.